3 pixels wide. So it's a pretty thin border. If I change that to 10 pixels and hit enter, you'll notice that I have a much thicker border here. And once again, you'll notice in my layers palette, I still have those effects. I have my drop shadow, and now I have added to that effect a stroke. I can poke the eyeball out of the stroke, and the stroke will go away. I can poke the eyeball out of the drop shadow, and the drop shadow will go away. But I want to actually change my stroke. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to right click, go back to blending options, and I'm going to make sure that I select my stroke tool here, and I'm going to change the size a little more. I want it to be a tiny bit larger, but you'll notice I've got these rounded edges, and I don't want rounded edges on my picture. I want sharp, crisp edges, just like my actual photograph. So I'm going to need to change the position of my stroke. If I change the position of the stroke from outside to inside, lo and behold, I have sharp, crisp edges, just like a picture frame. And on third thought here, I really don't like green at all, and I'm going to change the color to a white color so it looks more like an actual picture here. And I'm going to click OK, and now I've got that nice white border with a little bit of drop shadow, and I'm starting to add a little bit of character, a little bit of life to this picture. I'm going to do a few more things in this document, but none of them are going to have to do with this blending option or this layer style palette anymore. If you want to play around with these on your own, go right ahead. For me, I'm just going to click OK. I now have my picture the way I want it, and I can still use the move tool and move it, and the stroke and the drop shadow and everything follows it, comes with it. If I click this little triangular tab over here, those effects actually disappear. If I click it again, I can once again check out the different options that I have added to my picture. But for me, I'm going to move on to the text tool. I'm going to grab this text right here, text type tool, and if you hold down or left click for a while, you'll notice that you've got horizontal, vertical, and masking layers. We don't want to mess around with any of those as of right now, but just realize that those options are there, or if something isn't typing the way you want, you might not be on the right tool exactly, and you might need to go back and select it appropriately. So I'm going to pick the horizontal type tool, and rather than drawing a text box like this, like you would in maybe Microsoft PowerPoint or Word or something like that, I'm going to take an easier way out here, and I'm going to just grab this text tool and click once right in the middle, and I just get a floating cursor right there. The beautiful part about Photoshop is I don't need to draw a text box. I'm not limited like that. I can just type randomly or freely and then move it around when I'm all finished. You'll notice, because I picked the text tool here, my little bar up here on the top has changed to accommodate me for my typing tool. And right now I have Gill Sans chosen as my font. I'm actually going to pick a little bit different kind called Papyrus. It's being used all over the place these days. I notice it being used. But it's pretty simple and it's a little bit snazzy. So we're going to pick that, and we're going to change the point size to 36. And as you can see, my cursor is getting a little bit larger here. And I'm going to make it strong. So it's going to have a little extra oomph to it. Color is black. That should be fine for right now. I'm going to type in picture. There we go. And now I can use my move tool. If I hover over the word, it turns into a cursor and I can select different parts of the word. Or if I hover off, it turns into the move tool and I can move this around however I would like. And I'm sort of satisfied with this, but I actually want to change the size of it. It's really not large enough. So I'm going to highlight the whole thing, change it to 60 point, maybe even 72 point. That looks much better. I've got my move tool. You obviously can type in 300 point if you want to. It doesn't really matter. You're only given the option to go down to 72 point, but you can type in whatever you'd like, just like you can in Microsoft Word. So I've got my picture, Word, typed up here, and actually, as soon as I click right here, you'll notice that this brand new layer that was created by the text tool renames itself to whatever I have written right here. This is a little bit confusing right now because this layer right here we named picture, and now this layer is also named picture because it's a text layer. But you also notice that the thumbnail represents for us that it is most certainly a text. I'm going to go back over here one last time and highlight this. And I'm going to change the word to say hillside. Now you'll notice that my layer will rename itself. It's now called hillside. And I can use my move tool to grab this. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer here. Another lesson for myself. Make sure you're on the actual text layer. I'm going to move it up here on top of my picture. And you'll notice, man, I really like the text. I even like the color, but you really cannot read that word because the hill gets cut out by the darkness of the picture. Well, we can fix that by going one last time back to the layers styles or the blending options dialog. Right click once again, blending options, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, and I'm going to put a stroke around it. If I put a stroke around it, well, it turns it all red, or I could change it so it's white. And I should be able to read my picture. It looks quite a bit better. There's a second option. Instead of using stroke, I could certainly use something like outer glow. And I could change the outer glow color to more of a white color. And I could change the spread and the size of the outer glow so that they increase in luminosity, and hit OK. And now lo and behold, my text has that outer glow around it, and now I can read the hill side very easily. And actually, if I take my move tool and move that text over, you'll notice everything actually has the glow around it. You just don't notice it over here on the white canvas because you don't need to notice it, or it matches the background. I'm all finished with this for right now. I'm going to leave it as is. This has been your lesson in drop shadows and strokes and a little bit in text. And what I'm going to do as my last step is I'm going to utilize this crop tool right here. And I'm going to draw a box around it. And I'm going to hit enter to crop it down to the size that I want it. And there I have my hillside photo.